I think it would be better to join an airline. Like I mentioned before, a lot of things are well set in airlines. Training departments, licensing. They have their own simulators, their training facilities.
Welcome to URBX Talks. Myself, Leons, GM of Pilot and Aviation Academy, URBX. At this moment, I'm really glad to welcome few guests who are present with us in this podcast. So firstly, I would like to welcome Captain Abdul Naser, who is well experienced in flying with 18,000 plus flying hours. Thank you for being present with us, sir, in this evening. Secondly, I would like to welcome Mr. Faiz Ibrahim, the founder and chairman of URBX Groups. Thank you so much for present with us, sir. Thirdly, I would like to welcome Mr. Don George, the Vice Principal of College and Aviation, URBX. Yes, Captain, so glad to have you here. So let's just get into this podcast. The first thing I would want to know is how or what motivated you for you to choose this profession, being a pilot. So can you just explain us your journey of getting this 18,000 flying hours and also few memorable moments that you had while you did your flying?
That's a lot of questions over there, Leon. Anyway, for most kids who later on become pilots, a spark comes in their life sometime. Whenever we would travel from Middle East to India, me and my brother, we were crazy about these aircraft. Yeah, and we were really small. Right. Okay, so my brother used to tell me that you were really small and you could still identify some of the aircraft. So I guess the spark comes in pretty early for a lot of the pilots. In terms of my journey, 18,000 or 20,000, 30,000, it's not the number of hours that's more important. The quality of the hours or what you're doing counts more. So I wouldn't say somebody who's got 20,000 hours is a better pilot than somebody who's got 1,000 hours or 500 hours of flying. In terms of my own journey, I went for my commercial pilot license, the CPL license in the US. And once I completed my CPL, I did my flight instructor license as well over there. And that was about in the year 1994 to 95. I got a good opportunity to work as a flight instructor in the US as well. And that really helped me build a lot of not only confidence in flying, but also understanding more facets of aviation, plus the opportunity to explain to other students, and that's a big important part for a flight instructor. I got an opportunity to fly with a cargo airline in the Middle East for about 4 years. That was the first place where I became a captain. And after that, my first passenger airline job was in India with an airline called Air Sahara.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, there used to be an airline before called Air Sahara. And that was flying the aircraft called CRJ. That was the first passenger aircraft that I flew. I flew that for a few years. I was a captain on the CRJ. 2019, I then got an opportunity to fly with a corporate where I am still currently flying. And that's an aircraft called Global Express. Okay, so this is the journey that I have taken. It's a little bit unorthodox, because there's a little bit of flight instructing, cargo flying, regional passenger jet, and now corporate. But I think every facet of that has helped me become a better pilot. Yeah.
So any memorable moments while you did the flying?
Oh my God, memorable moments.
You must be having a lot. Yes, a few.
Every pilot has these, every time you fly, there are things that you witness, because when you see, like recently you saw the astronauts on Artemis, and they had sent back these pictures from space.
Space, yes.
And it's just beautiful, to witness different things when you're flying. So I would say when you cross the Atlantic, especially in the northern latitudes, you get to see these northern lights.
Wow, yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of northern lights, but actually witnessing it from the cockpit is a different experience. And these shimmering lights, and they seem to be so close to you. So that's a good experience. And then obviously the geography of the planet is just amazing to watch. Yeah.
So, like you have flown scheduled operations and as well as now non-scheduled operations. So, how do you compare like the lifestyle, and which one like you like the most?
Oh wow, that's quite a good question actually. For a lot of pilots, in fact, I get that a lot from a lot of aspiring pilots. They want to know the difference between a life of a pilot in a scheduled airline and a non-scheduled operations. So I would say the scheduled airline is perfect for a pilot who has just got their CPL, let's say the commercial pilot's license, and as a first job, it's the right place to be. The scheduled airline has a lot more resources, huge training departments, a lot of other resources which they use, and they do a lot more flying compared to a non-scheduled operator. For example, I fly approximately 200 to 250 hours a year, whereas when I was in the airline, I was doing approximately 900 hours a year. So for a new pilot, it's better to be in a scheduled airline because your number of hours increases faster, your skills improve, you are tested more, and you're kept on your toes most of the time.
How is this duty time limitations being monitored, or like what is the process which has to be followed?
Yeah, so DGCA has created or has given us rules, flight duty time limitations or FDTL rules, and these rules are published for scheduled, non-scheduled and general aviation operations as well. So we have to, it's very similar, both of the FDTL rules, but you have to ensure that we stay within those limits. So all the planning is done to ensure that the flight remains within the norms of the FDTL.
So when you're with a private operator, like in the sense, do you have a separate scheduling team, route networking team, or you give that to some company who does that?
Yeah, so typically a non-scheduled operator is a very small operator with maybe 2 or 3 aircraft. Whereas an airline, for example, Indigo, I think currently, correct me if I'm wrong, how many aircraft? They must be having at least 500, 600?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 600 aircraft. So an airline would have a big department like that, scheduling, rostering, revenue management, route planning, and network planning and so on. Whereas a non-scheduled, it's quite a small operation, probably 1 or 2 people in the operations department who handle it. So there's a lot more onus on the pilots to ensure that everything goes according to the rules and regulations.
So out of all aircrafts which you have flown,
yes,
which is your favorite?
Oh wow. That's a very difficult question now. So I flew the Boeing 737 for quite a long time, I think about 13 years. In my opinion, the Boeing 737 is an amazing aircraft.
Is it? Okay.
It's a very old design. I think it started flying in the 50s.
Wow.
Yes, and since then, I think it's the most sold single type of aircraft in the world. Maybe now the A320 will be beating it soon. But the 737 is an amazing workhorse, okay, and a really good aircraft to fly as well. And it's not fly-by-wire. If you know the difference, I should get into that now, especially for you. There's a difference between fly-by-wire and conventional aircraft. So the Airbus is mainly fly-by-wire. So that's the ones where you see pilots flying with the joysticks,
Wow,
right?
okay.
And the Boeing has this conventional controls, like a steering wheel, which you see in front. So the main difference between these two is in the Airbus, the controls feed a computer, and the computer then moves the flight controls of the aircraft.
Okay.
Whereas in conventional, the movement of the control column actually moves some hydraulic equipment, which then moves the directly to the flight controls.
Okay.
So there's a lot more flying feel. At least I haven't flown the Airbus, but I feel there's a lot more flying feel for the Boeing, and I really did enjoy flying that. So yeah, that is my favorite.
So what's your current aircraft and how you have
The aircraft I'm flying now, Ipol, the Bombardier Global Express.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between corporate aircraft and the airline aircraft in terms of the service ceiling. So the Boeing or an Airbus has a service ceiling of approximately 41,000 feet, whereas most corporate jets have a very high service ceiling. So ours is 51,000 feet. So you get to fly much above all the bad weather and all the other traffic. So that's a big difference between corporate and.
So, do you actually save fuel when you fly higher, or how is it?
Yes, so fuel, yes, as you fly, the higher you fly, the less dense is the air. So the amount of fuel needed for your engines to burn or required is much lesser. So the higher you fly, the less fuel requirement there is.
So, Captain, what would be your advice for the aspiring pilots as they get the CPL and they get into the airline? How quick they can opt for non-scheduled, or should it be better for them to go on the scheduled thing? Which would be more better for them?
Wow, that's an interesting question, Leonce. But the thing is, at their stage of career, I think it would be better to join an airline. Like I mentioned before, a lot of things are well set in airlines. Training departments, licensing. They have their own simulators, their training facilities. Okay. So the initial bit of training and professional culture that will last them a lifetime, it's better to be in an airline. Okay. So I would personally suggest, of course, at that point in time, it's it is not always determined that they will get an airline job or a corporate job, but at that point in time they'll have to choose whatever they get. Yes. But mostly they should aim for an airline career to start off with. Okay. And then later on in life, if they feel that they want to experience this side of flying, they can then opt for a non-scheduled operator or so on. And the other thing to keep in mind is there are not many opportunities in non-scheduled as compared to scheduled. Indigo itself is ordered some 600 odd or more aircraft. So over the next decade or so, there's a lot of opportunities going to come in the airlines. Similarly, Air India as well. Whereas in non-scheduled, you will not find that kind of a growth, maybe a few aircraft here and there. And most non-scheduled operators require people with a lot of experience. So that's one of the reasons that I got this opportunity after leaving Jet Airways. Yeah, so my suggestion would be try to get into the airlines first. And even if you don't get an airline opportunity, that's also fine. For example, I started off as a flight instructor, teaching on small single engine aircraft, right? So I did the conventional route. Back then there was there were no opportunities as you have today, like a cadet pilot program, which Indigo and Air India and maybe other airlines have. So everybody did the conventional route. And the flight instructor experience, like I said earlier, really helped me to develop a lot of skills, which has translated later on into my airline flying, and right now in corporate flying as well. Yeah.
So, Captain, as it is a decade ago, you know how the industry was, and now the industry is really growing, and exactly along with it, the competition too. So what happens is, among the youngsters, the aspiring pilots have a fear like how much their job is secured, like, or what is the opportunity for them in the future. So according to you, what is the opportunity for the aspiring pilots? Like, what would be the industry in next 5 years?
See, it's quite simple. If you look at the math behind the number of aircraft that we had from about 10 years back to what we are today, and then the growth expected for the next decades to come. Also, the aviation infrastructure all across the country is improving. We've got new airports in all the metro cities. Navi Mumbai just opened fairly recently. So all of this points to a big growth, a big requirement, and we can see India is the fastest. ICAO, IATA has also said that India is the fastest growing aviation market currently. That being said, there's a lot of aspiring pilots who are looking to join this industry as well, all across the country. So my advice to the aspiring students would be, make sure you join a good, reputable organization who take you through the steps that's required, who are professional, like what we are trying to do over here. Ensure that they get the basics right, and the problem with some of the institutes which make false promises, and that can lead to delays in these students finishing their CPL and coming into the market, into the job market. So it's important to join the right organization. Secondly, it requires discipline, and that's something, when you're in school, you are geared to do your studies in a certain manner. There's the different subjects that you have to try and get good marks in, and that's it. And then you get a certificate at the end. Over here, it's not only about the knowledge. Over here, it's about a change in attitude. Okay, and that attitude change plus a skills development, because flying is a skill at the end of the day. So you need to have the knowledge, the skills, and the attitude to ensure that you become a good pilot. And our aim over here, I think Fayaz, you'll be able to help me in this, is to give them this broad structure of the knowledge, the skills, and the attitude, and we will help you in the journey in becoming a professional pilot. Fayaz, please.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.